Here we go. The roof's going to blow off. Luke Sellars is back in the house, folks. Welcome back to the Get a Grip on Life podcast. Thank you for joining us. And what's happened, Luke?
Thanks for having me, brother. Good to see you again. It's been about a month or so now.
No, I would say about 8 weeks.
Oh, that long, eh?
Yeah, beginning of January, maybe 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. It's been a wonderful 6 weeks.
Yeah, so fill me in. How's things?
You know, it's so I think I told you that 5 people voluntarily left my life in the last 6 weeks. And I'm sad and I miss them in some senses. But, you know, these people that, you know, now that when you start showing up for yourself, like you said, every day, you take all the parts of who you are on this earth seriously, your emotional self, your physical self, your spiritual self, and you do those things on a regular basis, man. And you track it. Right? You track it and you hold yourself accountable. You can incrementally, you can really it's like a very quickly compounding interest in your favor or the world's favor, really. Because if like what I've seen for me is like, once we had that one meditation after the Christmas break, I stopped validating other people's egos. I stopped going into conflict with them. And the relationship lost all its energy.
It's crazy how that works, eh?
Like there was no energy in the relationship anymore. It's
an interesting thing because we have these relationships that we become codependent on, which are volatile, and it can be to such a small scale that it's not something that we would see as volatile in our life. And as you change who you're being, which is essentially the only thing that we can actually have control over on this planet, is how we interpret things and how we show up for ourselves. And naturally, you're going to emanate a different frequency. Everything is sound. Science shows us this. Vibration has a sound. So you have a sound to you, I have a sound to me. The more that we work this beautiful, sophisticated mechanism, we have this fragrance that starts to flourish within us. It's like a scent, but if we call it a vibration, whatever we would like to call it, and the fragrances around us start to change, i.e. the people, right? So the more you emanate love and compassion internally, the more it emanates externally, and those people that aren't able to maintain existence within that frequency, which is much lighter, they drop off. Yeah, so we don't need to focus on the relationship, or even if it's something like a vice, like alcohol or whatever. Sure. When we focus here on what we really are, everything else drops away. Having the courage to be okay with that, as you just said, right? It's not easy when these people leave our lives, and that we need to grieve it properly.
It's also extremely disruptive from a business perspective.
Of course.
You know, it's very disruptive.
Initially, right? For sure. But you're continually going like this because you're focusing the light on the things that are beautiful within you. Naturally, that which emanates around you is going to change. The thing about it is being able to allow these transitions to happen in a way where you're the observer to it. You're not suffering through them.
I totally get that.
You're just accepting. You're open and accepting to the changes that are flourishing within your life, as opposed to resisting them.
And it's like one of the things that when you do this and this is all biblical too. It's unbelievable how this truth transcends cultures on the earth. Every culture seems to have access to this truth in some way. You know what I'm saying?
We innately do as human beings.
Yeah.
Because you are this mechanism, right? This sophisticated, I call it the human condition coming into the mind and the body. The interesting thing is the human condition you have the most powerful access point within yourself, right? So to be human means to be in separation, means to be part of your group. It's the way you've been, and at this time on this planet, you've been conditioned this way.
That's right.
And as so long as you're part of your group, you're a Christian, I'm a Muslim, you're a Jew, you're whatever it is, we can never, ever, 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 ever meet as one. Ever. Right? You meet the most, it's in the words of the great master Muji, he's like, I've met the most liberal of the groups, and they're just some watered down version of the group.
Wait, not only
and it's the truth.
Not only that though, but it's like what it is that within those religions there is a truth-seeking element to them.
Of course,
okay?
Yes.
But when people start to identify themselves as this, and people who are not this are outside of something, so you create that polarity, right? Now you have conflict between the two groups. But if people just were comfortable with who they are and their spiritual, as an individual in the world, with their spiritual selves and with their emotions, and they were a Muslim or a Catholic or a Jew or an atheist or whatever it is they want to be, they would cease to be in conflict with others.
Well, and the interesting thing about it is the only way for them to be comfortable with those, with who they are, really being comfortable with yourself. I mean, first, the illusion of what is self, but secondary, it's a consequence of your practice. This business is a consequence of the hard work of everybody that works within it.
Yes.
Right? It's not like I'm going to go out and just have millions of dollars, but not do what's necessary to achieve that. And what's happening right now on this planet is people are confused. It's not right or wrong the way that they're living. It's not a personal attack at them when I suggest to do something differently. They're confused into understanding what's really necessary to drive the performance of this thing here, right? This thing that we've embodied. And if you don't work it, just like you don't learn how to use your iPhone, you could be the greatest iPhone person on the planet. I mean, I know that doesn't really make sense to you tech people, but right? But you could be the greatest person at using an iPhone.
For sure.
But if the iPhone doesn't turn on, you're obsolete.
Yes.
Right? If you don't know how to use it very well and you just know how to turn it on, it doesn't work for you too well. Right. And that's essentially how people are living their lives. They wake up every morning. They have no gratitude for the fact that they're actually alive. And they just go. They're never living. Yeah. We're robotic. I walk through malls in that with my third eye open just to look around, and I'm looking at a bunch of computers that are just robotically going from one place to the next, trying to get from somewhere, trying to get to something else. Doesn't make them bad people. It just makes them confused. And they've been conditioned that way. We have all been conditioned that way. Now, we can go into the conditioning and get caught up in all the conspiracy bullshit and all that stuff, which essentially feeds energy. Just like you said, as you're in conflict with a person, the energy, once you remove the energy from the conflict, the relationship evaporated.
You said that.
Yeah.
But I remembered it.
Yeah. If you remove, we'll use for instance.
You said that conflict, there's an intimacy in conflict.
Exactly, right? Yes. And it's no different if we look at our brother down there to the south, Mr. Trump. People love to be at war and love to suffer. Right. So what do? They turn their CNN on every night and they watch and they yell and they scream and they throw stuff at the TV, and then they go out and they tell their friends how this guy's an idiot and all these different things, as opposed to actually looking at things for what they really are.
And not only that, though, they can't necessarily confirm the truth.
No.
But like they can't discern. You're sitting in your living room and you live in Toronto, Canada, or Des Moines, Iowa, or whatever, and you're watching something on TV, if you sitting there thinking that you know what's right or wrong with that, you're totally in your ego.
And that's the great illusion. How do you get a mass population to conform to what you want them to do? Get them to believe that they're in the driver's seat and give them something to fight for.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, it's like people are throwing. If people, I mean, Marshall McLuhan said the medium is the message. Yep. If people are sitting in their living rooms throwing something at the TV or getting emotionally upset or generating cortisol and stress by watching a screen in their room, they should get rid of the screen.
Exactly. Get rid of the antagonist and maybe look at things in a bit of a different way.
Yeah.
It's like Denzel Washington said it well. If you watch the media, you're misinformed, and if you don't watch it, you're uninformed. I would argue that you can listen to the media that's going on within yourself, right? There's a voice, there's a vibration there. That if we start going towards that, as opposed to going towards what we think we know, which is supporting an accumulation of identities that have been instilled upon us before we could even decide whether we wanted to be this way or be that way. If I come in, I wasn't born into a religious family, but if I was, and now I'm 25, 30 years old, and I'm a Muslim, I never decided whether I wanted to follow that faith or not. That was decided for me in the nature. Well, I could argue that maybe I did decide that because I knew the life that I chose to come into. But what I'm getting at here is that we have identities and things that we've created that we did not decide. That's who we choose. We're not living our own dream. We're living someone else's. So instead of trying to change things and fix things in our lives from where we see things now, let's just stop for a moment and let's look. Let's just take a look. Look within. It's like, okay, for instance, so we come into this environment here today, and before you come in, we kindly ask you to take the mind out and put it right there outside the door.
Take the mind out.
Yeah, so there's a mind rack there, okay. like a shoe rack, like a shoe rack. Okay. So before we come in, and we have a lot of interesting perspectives of things, because I think as you dive into human nature, naturally it's going to stimulate your intellect and that which is connected to your identities. It's how it's the entry point of how we understand things. But for a moment, the mind is out there. So there's like a shoe rack, but you take the mind out and you put it there on a rack, and here we are. And all we've ever done in our relationship in this studio is look. I've never told you to go anywhere, never told you to do anything. It's just, let's look at this and let's see. So the mind is there, and here we are. Now, don't come into this room now with an expectation of what's next. You can even see the thoughts right there. Yeah. Trying to understand what's next, anticipation, what's about to take place. Everything that you think you are, so who you are as a business owner, as a husband, as a father, as a friend to this group, as a friend to this group, as this person, all of these things are right there. Like you've just pushed them to the side.
Push them over there.
And here we are. What's left?
My essence.
You.
Yeah.
It's a feeling. And if we sit with this and go with me on this right now, so the mind is out there and here we are. Now start to focus your attention inwards and you can start to feel a vibration that starts to emanate there. It's a feeling. Which is similar to when you're in a deep state of meditation. The mind is out there in the hallway. So all of your successes, all of your failures, all of that which you think you are, the physical body, everything is all out there. And it'll be waiting for you when you're done. It's not going to go anywhere. And here we are. And in this space, is there anywhere for you to go?
No.
Is there anything for you to do?
No.
Can you touch it?
I'm in it.
Can you touch what we're talking about, or this thing here? Can you touch it?
I don't think I can.
Exactly. Can it be spoken to? Am I telling you what this feels like, or am I asking you to look? You're just looking within. You're focusing the attention inward. Can it be?
No, but my thoughts are trying to come back.
Of course. They're like little spiders coming in. And we're just asking them to kindly just stay out there for the time being. Yeah. The mind can be your adversary if it is structured and worked with properly. The thing is, for most people, it is not. So the mind is trying to come in, right? We're asking it to kindly just stay out there. So it's there outside that door, and here we are. It cannot be touched. Can it be spoken to? This feeling that's emanating.
No, exactly. There's nothing with it.
It can't even be. Now, we're working through this very quickly. This is the way of self-inquiry, the way of this great master Ramana. When he was asked, how do you sum up your teachings in one word? He said attention. So we focus the attention on that which we really are, which is self. It can't be known. It can't be spoken to. It can't be touched. It can only be experienced. And this is what it is to know, to know what it is. This is what it is to know, to walk in the light of God, so to say. And we stay in this vibration here, which is essentially where you go in meditation and that, but this is who you really are. That which is blurred or clear out here, positive or negative, perceived, by the way, in the physical reality that people are looking to, that they need to change or they need to restructure, it is not that at all. You are that which is behind that which is blurred, clear, positive, negative. You're the observer to it all, the witness. You're untouched by it all, actually.
It's interesting because when you say it that way, it's like, when I get up and when I meditate, or when I do my workout, then I meditate, I often, not all the time, I often feel like there's nothing for me to do.
There isn't.
But I still go about my day.
Of course.
But there's no sense of
there's no desire.
Yeah, there's nothing to be had. And then what happens is you go out and you approach people, and all of a sudden you engage with them very, very meaningfully.
It's only to be experienced.
Yeah, like it's like, I'm not going to come in here with anything other than to listen to what you say and respond to it, or to say what I feel like I should say, but in a meaningful way. I don't know how to describe it.
No, it's
like you're impelled by your spirit.
You're describing it very well. It's the difference. We've been conditioned in a way to live our lives.
That's what I call living in my essence, by the way.
Exactly.
When I feel like that.
Yeah, exactly, right? And we've been conditioned to live in a way that is doing based. Just go and do all these different things. Right?
Yes.
Which
check your list.
And the things that we do are connected to the identities that we've developed to survive in the world, and our intellect that supports them. Which, again, our intellect is a double-edged sword. Can cut through butter like a hot knife, or it can decapitate you.
Sure.
Like, how many people do we see are decapitated by their intellect daily? Right? They just can't see it any other way, and it might have got them to a level of success, but they never go any further.
What's interesting is that I've read a lot of books by atheists. I think atheists suffer the most from that. This denial of the spiritual world.
I would tend to agree, and they're clothed in their own way, whatever that looks like.
No, but they're usually very intelligent people.
Oh, of course.
Like if you've grew up as a Christian and then decided to become an atheist, it's probably because you have a master's degree or something.
The interesting thing about it is that they're thinking their way through what source, creator, God is.
Yes, but not only that though, but it's like they're no different than the people watching the TV on Donald Trump. It's the same thing.
For sure. And they're no different than you and I either.
Oh no,
right?
For sure.
Because they're expressing their divinity in the way in which they think is supporting them best. I'm living my life in the way that I think supports me best. I open myself up to be completely wrong in the way in which I'm living. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's the bigger thing here is that the individuals, people start to see that we're all one and the same. And even though we might have an idea about the way things should be done, we still have a honoring and an awareness and a wanting to know what other people know, right? So that we can grow and evolve.
Can I ask you? It's kind of like it's like an openness, right? Where you're just being who you are. And you're engaging in people with who you are, and that's enough. There's nothing else you need to be. You don't have to chase after anything. You don't have to pretend I'm going to be the boss today or I'm going to be the alpha male. You're just going to be yourself in the environment you're in. And it's like, when you see somebody that has a disability of some kind, like let's say they stutter. There's a perfect example, right? They have a stutter. But they're up on the stage and they're speaking, public speaking, or they're engaging with you in a meaningful way, and you kind of respect them for not being afraid to overcome and just be themselves.
They're an inspiration.
Yes. But it's almost like we have all these internal baggages and scars and identities that we're trying to deal with, and we've unfulfilled and we feel fulfilled, or our ego gets out of control or whatever. And we're playing that out within our relationships.
And not only that, you have a massive industry that's looking to benefit on your suffering.
Yes.
In telling you that they have the answer to your stuff, and they don't.
Yes.
They don't have the answer, right? I see a lot of, now some of them, there's some very fundamental, you get into the stuff of the brain. If you try to fix a problem with the same way of thinking that created it, it's the definition of insanity.
Sure.
So what do? We create all kinds of problems through our brain, desiring things,
coveting
not knowing
after
who we
things,
are, and now we go and fix it through the brain. Therapy, psychotherapy, psychiatry. I'm not saying that those things are not okay. I was involved in all of them, right? So I know them from firsthand experience, but it's so much simpler. It's just where we're looking and how we're looking at what we think we are, right? So we've got a bit of a shit show, for lack of better expression, here in the Western world. People that innately know there's something more to life, looking for guidance and assistance, and the guidance and assistance that's there is only interested in taking your money, trying to tell you what it is, as opposed to never even experiencing it. So if we just stop for a moment and get down to the fundamentals of who you really are, your primary instincts, breathing, sleeping, movement, reproduction, love, and consciously commit to these things. It's not that difficult. Now, you have underlying traumas and all these things.
It's very difficult.
It is. But what's difficult is the simplicity of it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Think, how difficult is it for a human being to get up and go for a walk every morning? Seems very simple.
Yes.
Right? But you have neural pathways that are created in your brain that have an idea about how things should be done in a different way. So you actually get the act of it is very simple, but your ability to get out of your own way, to commit to the act day in, day
Show
out.
up for yourself every day.
Exactly. Yep. It's self-regulation. You haven't been taught, we have not been conditioned into believing, and beliefs are all or nothing, believing on a cellular level that if we just sit with ourselves, if we just go within and understand who we are and whatever that looks like, whatever technique, you need a technique. You need a practice.
Yes, for
it's
sure.
It's not enough to go and listen to the sermon on Sunday mornings.
No.
And you need to show.
No, but here's let me just jump in on that. So all of these religions, so there's the tyrannical side of them. They're in polarity too. There's their ego and their essence of the institutions, if they've lasted a long time. And what these things are is they're what I interpret Luke's message as is none of those things are wrong, but they're secondary to your essence.
Yes.
And if you participate in their ceremonies meaningfully, you will likely achieve this practice.
Yeah.
Like the Catholic Church has the rosary. I'm sure the Muslims have something where they get into a deep state of meditation.
Yes.
You know, there's something there that works for them.
Definitely.
And if you see that primary, it's then part of your ego.
Exactly. It's just an exercise. Right? If you're looking,
it doesn't mean you don't believe it.
No, of course not. Even if you look at a meditation practice, which we use that word because people understand it, but essentially, what is meditation? It's you becoming the observer, the witness.
Yes.
Right. So your meditation practice, but it can also inhibit your evolution, because it's that thing you always go do. So no, you need to do that thing, but you also need to be able to allow your life to become a meditation. So you create this frequency, and now your heart's intelligence, which magnetic field of the heart is much stronger than the brain, and in what they can measure, I think it's 5,000 times stronger. So when your spirit's in the heart, this is a science that we're working with here. It might seem like hoopla to people or some people listening, but it's a science, right? You came down, descended down on this. You descended down upon this mind and body, and you have been living in the sphere of the brain, which is polarized. We move into the heart. The heart emanates a different vibration, and because you're there, it starts to take care of all the details. Your ability to let it happen is where most people get interrupted.
I agree totally, and it's so I changed my my daily wellness checklist.
Okay, good, because you want to keep using that as a tool to.
That's right. So I've changed a few things up, but what I wanted to say was I'm not scoring anything out of 10 anymore. I don't score it. I just check if I did it or didn't do it.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful.
But the second thing is that the only scoring I do is now. You've described this ego in essence.
Yes.
I know what my ego is, Luke.
Yes.
I know how to recognize
and you know how it shows up.
Yes.
Good. That's the big thing. You know how it shows up as a behavior, as an emotion, as a thought in your daily life.
Right.
Beautiful.
Now my essence.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep that goes. Right now. Yeah. Let me just finish my point here.
Yeah,
okay. So I know what it feels like to be in my essence.
Yes.
But I don't know. I can't say that's my essence now. It's like I feel like I'm just starting this journey into my essence.
Exactly.
And I don't want to try to define, now I'm in my essence.
Don't try to define any of it.
But let me tell you this. So instead on my wellness checklist, instead of saying, 10 on this or 9 on that or whatever, I just say, how many times did I go in my ego today?
Beautiful.
Right? And it's like 2.5 to 3 times. When I first started this after our meditation, it was like 4 to 5 times.
Incredible.
And I would look back at my dad and go, you know what? That was really egotistical. That email that I wrote.
Yep.
Was an egotistic expression of my ego.
And this is the state of awareness that is the entry point into becoming a masterful human being. And a masterful human being is one that is emotionally intelligent, centered in the eye of the hurricane always, which is the most powerful access point for you to be successful in all areas of life, because you're not getting taken anywhere. Like for business, for example, creation and business from the center is the simplest thing. Now, obviously, there's working parts that go into it, and there's a complexity to change in life, but it is just such a beautiful, beautiful way to live, because you're always vibrant. You always have tons of energy. You sleep. I lie down at night at 8:39. I'm lights out. I'm up at 2, 3 in the morning, inspired for the day to come. Yes. And what inspires me most is that first 2 or 3 hours is spent in the light of God, which is with myself, right? Which however you want to define that. When you start to really see what that is, and then your life starts to emanate like that? Yes. I mean, it's like but it's a journey to get there, and it's different for everybody what the access point is.
Yes. And what I wanted to say, if anybody's watching this and they're thinking about what are these guys talking about? Yeah. These two bald crazy guys, they're in their essence, they're hugging trees and stuff. Yeah. But what happens is, it's like for me that I start to experience gratitude. Okay, or I start to experience sadness. Okay, but I was meditating earlier this week, and I was in the gym, and I went into my little corner where it's dark, and sat down and started my meditation, and went to the brain, went down the staircase into the tiny space of the heart, and I just all of a sudden I felt so sad, and I'm going to tell you, this is going to sound weird, and it's not the right word, but it's like it was like such a relief when it started, and it just poured out of me.
Beautiful.
Okay. And when I finished the meditation, I didn't realize it was 45 minutes. I usually do half an hour. I didn't even realize because I don't have the music doesn't end. It just keeps going. Yep. And then when I was done, I opened my eyes and I was crying. I didn't even realize I was crying. I'm serious, dude. Like I opened my eyes in the gym and I was like this. I was like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. And, I felt such a weight, a burden off me.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it was like I was in the eye of the hurricane. I was just like, there's sadness. It comes and it just came and covered me and just was all over me. And it was really deep. Like I was sad about something. I'm not going to say what it is on the show, but I was very sad. And then it passed, like the rock that I moved through on the meditation.
When you're present with anything, and you let it unfold and you experience it, it's not so much about getting caught up and understanding the meaning of why is this happening, which is still, a fundamental aspect of growth for an individual. But people can get lost in this state. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Life is to be experienced. Mm-hmm. The emotion of sadness is just as beautiful as the emotion of happiness.
Yes, and it is. And you can, I'm going to tell people like that. You may say, "What are you talking about, man?" Yeah. But grieving something is like purely grieving it as the observer is a very relieving experience.
Because essentially what you're doing is you're grieving the human condition.
Yes.
You're grieving what you have been entrenched in for a very long time without awareness, thinking that you are this thing that's causing, it's amazing, right? Like if we go back to that, what we were doing with the mind out there in the hallway, and here we are, and what can't be touched, can't be spoken to, self is what it is. In this moment and the next moment and next moment, we do not have ownership over it. The moment belongs to the moment, or the moment belongs to life, however you'd like to describe it. So why do we live our lives in ownership of the moments that have occurred? Now, typically more ownership for the ones that we perceive as good. I win a championship as a pro hockey player, and I own that because I put in the hard work to achieve that. I lose a relationship, and I own the sadness of it because it hurts so much, because I put so much stock in that area of life and it deteriorated. Even the whole standing up in front of it at an altar, and I'm not saying that marriage is a bad thing, but this is my wife. You just started the unraveling of the suffering within your relationship because you have identified that you have ownership over that person, which creates separation.
It's the opposite of the two become one.
Exactly.
Right now, I would say that I'm a huge supporter of the institution of marriage.
Yes.
But
and so you should say that.
No, I'm a huge. No, I am.
I'm a supporter of it too, to be honest with you. Anything that brings people together. But
the goal is not ownership over one another's reproductive organs.
Yes. Good point.
Right. The point of it is that the two can become one, and it's interesting because you see these in my own parenting. My wife and I, we have 4 children, and we have teenage children now.
Yes.
And it's like the level of intensity of the parenting has gone up in a sense.
Okay.
And what you see is when we are doing a good job parenting, there's a combination. So my wife is very compassionate, and I'm very authoritarian. No, this is how we do things, and we're going to do it this way. No, there's no exceptions allowed or whatever. But what you see with my wife and I is like a co-mingling of these two things together.
Beautiful.
And when it's going well, I have access to her compassion, and she has access to my authority. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
And I think when people talk about marriage, that's my wife. That's the woman who sleeps with me.
Yeah. Well, that's the
one who lets me have sex with her.
And you know what? And for people that are married, sitting there thinking, "Oh, and that's not the way that I am." The question I would ask you: if that relationship ends tomorrow, does your whole life fall apart? And if it does, you're in a codependent relationship, and that is not balanced, and it's not healthy for you.
Sure, or for them.
No, for them either.
Or your children.
It's unfortunate I know this is difficult for us to look at things this way. And I understand and I'm very compassionate to the human condition and our inability to look beyond ourselves, that things are so important to us. So nonetheless, it seems that these gatherings we're having are going kind of in the first 20, 30 minutes. We're just talking about all kinds of different things, which is good. Let's come back here to where you're at. So the last time we were in here, I believe we were working with the Tibetan cleaning.
Beautiful meditation practice.
Right?
Yeah.
So beautiful. How is that going with cleaning your traumas?
Well, sometimes I'm scared of it a little bit, to be honest with you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Of course, you're going into the darkness, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, it does not always have this beautiful sweetness to it.
Yeah.
You'll come to see that it does, that everything's sweetness.
Right. So I was doing this, I've been doing some Reiki with Alex Duders.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. And so some of those Reiki sessions are very dark, dude.
Yes.
Very dark. And it's, but it's like a Reiki. Everyone listening, it's like lucid dreaming. If you commit to
if you're with a good practitioner.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
which is a big if.
And Alex Duders is a good practitioner.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
So, you're connecting to the spiritual world. It's similar to meditation, but it's more like lucid dreaming for me anyway. That's the best description of it. Right. So, but anyway, what was I going to say? Oh man, I lost it.
We were asking about the traumas, cleaning your traumas, and you're going for Reiki.
Right. So you go into the meditation to, let's say, okay, I have to go back to that time.
Yep.
And I want to look at that event, and I want to see the person or see the victim.
Yeah.
Because, hey, you know what? Sometimes I got to forgive myself.
Well, of course. Well, yeah. I mean, essentially, it all comes back to forgiving yourself.
So you go down into these.
So yeah, it
always comes back to that.
Of course, it does, because you're the source of your suffering. You're also the source of the beautiful things in your life. Have you ever experienced anything that doesn't happen within you? Never. Right? Have you ever experienced any aspect of your life not within yourself? Right? Huh. You see me. Where do you see me right now?
You're sitting there.
Okay. Do you really see me sitting right here?
I think so.
The light is reflecting off of me into you. So you see me within yourself.
That's right. Yeah, my eyes.
Exactly. And your eyes have memory, right? You walk into a room and you naturally gravitate towards that woman that is your type, so to say, or that man, or you gravitate towards a friendly face. So the eyes have memory also, which is an interesting thing because living in relationship to memory is living in an illusion. The memory of the way that things were, or the imagination of how things are going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
And that's the function.
I'm thinking about the eyes having memory, bro.
Of course they do, and that's the function of the mind. So if
you just blew past that. Do you know how actually profound it is to say that?
Yes, I mean the memory of the eyes is connected into an aspect that functions within the brain, but nonetheless. You see me within you. You hear me within you.
I know what you look like.
Exactly.
Because my eyes have memory.
Exactly, right?
Interesting.
But you still don't see me here. This is the great illusion. In the third dimension, we don't see three-dimensionally. We see two-dimensionally. Light causes us to see, right? Three-dimensionally. So if you turn the lights off, you don't see me. Which is an interesting thing. But nonetheless, you see me within yourself. You hear me within you. This stuff that's going on out here is nothing more than entry points for you to better understand yourself. So the trauma that occurred that you think actually involved that person, yes, we're going to use that as an access point to clean the trauma, but it all comes back to you forgiving and loving yourself for being present during that trauma that took place. Because you put yourself there. You're responsible for your life, nobody else. Even if you're going for a run at 9 o'clock at night and somebody jumps out from behind a bush and, and God forbid does something to you horrible, you still put yourself there. You created that experience based upon what's going on internally within you. The interesting thing about it, and I've been involved in heinous types of issues towards that had happened to me. So I'm not saying this with an insensitivity, but life is happening. You're the one that's responsible for how you interpret it. Right? The most heinous things in the world can be happening to you, but in that moment, you have to respect that person's choice in how they're choosing to live their life, because without it, you don't have your ability to choose the way in which you're living. Now, it's up to you whether you allow yourself to stay present in that environment. I mean, in the nature of going for a run late at night, you're either going to fight or get the hell out of there as quick as you can, right? But in life, we need to know who we are. We need to honor thyself. The only way to do so is to dive in to what we actually are, and that takes your time and attention. Right? And to expect you to self-regulate in the moment of very difficult processes and experiences in your life, if you're not training yourself to be able to be so or do so, it's a pipe dream. Right? So life is happening within you. In the Tibetan cleaning exercise, we go down into the heart. Time is spherical in the heart, just to recap. And you have identified your traumas, the ones that you can remember, right? And we start working through them, because these are the origin of all dysfunctional or functional emotions that you are perceiving within your daily life.
Are we projecting onto others?
Well, exactly, right? And that's what we're very good projectors.
Yeah.
Right? So as you go in, it's like going in with a scalpel, because you have your ethereal body, your energetic body has energetic mud stuck to it. If we go back to this description of a Leonardo sphere, and within that sphere, and in Sanskrit, I think they're called samkaras or something along those lines, a somewhat stable equilibrium of energy that is around you. Now you have the experience that takes place. For instance, you think that you have cleaned the trauma when you were 8 years of age, when, I don't know, whatever, you had a boyfriend in 4th grade and something, and they dumped you for another girl, and his name was Johnny. And now you're sitting at lunch 20 years later, and the server comes up and, I'm Johnny, I'm going to take care of you guys today. And it triggers something way back in your cellular memory you're not even aware of, and you're knocked off for the next 4 days. You don't realize why. Your stomach's a little bit upset because the heart energy starts, you get a bit of a headache, and you can't really figure out why. But everything is happening in correlation to something. in third dimensional life.
Interesting. That's so fascinating.
Everything is connected to something. So if we're looking at things
like your reaction, if you're in a negative reaction with someone,
and most people are reacting to life, they're not responding.
Yeah, they're so if you're in a marriage or you're in a family relationship and you find yourself bickering all the time with your spouse, or your brother, or your sister, your mom, your dad, whoever, that bickering is like an emotional pattern that you've set, which continues to play itself out.
And there's a source to it. The source to it is always different, and this is where things get a little bit finicky on why it is so. For most people, probably they need to be working with somebody who can actually look at them and see in a completely different way, in a mystical way, so to say, so they can cut through your shit quickly, right? As opposed to the incremental, fundamental type coaching relationships that most people get involved in. Today we're dense with people, and it really warms my heart to see that people want to go out and help others. The difficulty is that the others are drowning in the middle of the lake, and the person that wants to go help them can't swim.
You know what it is? A lot of the coaching. So I've interviewed a lot of coaches over the years, and there was something I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I have introduced people into my life to help me.
Yeah.
But the thing is that a lot of it is finding a new label. Does that make sense?
Yes. Why would you want to?
Right, but no. I mean, I know my ego would want to for sure.
Of course.
Oh yeah, you're the host of the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast.
Yeah.
Woo, big shooter. Right?
Yeah.
But and then that's when I do my worst podcasts, actually, when I'm in that mindset.
Well, of course, because you start to think that what you're doing is important.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is not important. No. None of this is important. That's the interesting thing about it. All of this has a beauty to it, has a coherence to it. The work we're doing.
It's a song we're singing.
But it's
agreed.
It's the beautiful thing also is that whatever it is that you acquire and attract into your life to assist you on your journey is all fundamentally just as important as anything else. So even the experience that you attracted with, I don't know, somebody working for you who doesn't pan out so well, that is just as beautiful as and just as much a part of your journey and your experience as any other aspect of your life. Because if we removed one moment from your life, you wouldn't be where you are now.
It's a house of cards.
And this really rang home for me is that when I was trying to let go of behaviors in my life, that were connected to drugs and alcohol that were not, really serving me, I was focusing so heavily on those things. And I had somebody look at me and say, it's not those at all. Focus the attention inward and those will just drop off. They'll just drop away.
Exactly what happens.
And that's exactly what happens. And it's
Luke, I've lost 22 pounds. Dude.
I know, right? Crazy, eh? it's just without effort. Well, the effort is just showing up for yourself every day. That's it. We're in the process of developing a life advancement center in Markham, which should be up and running within probably 12 months. It's going to be a really beautiful thing. And when sitting with my partners in this and discussing, how we want the team to function, the coherence that we want, and I brought up a certain thing, they would need this, and I said, listen, there's only one thing that we're going to be asking of our associates here, and that's that they show up for themselves. And that'll be my primary obligation as part of this non-for-profit and as the chairman of the board of it is to drive the performance of each individual and of the team. Imagine coming into the workplace every day and the only thing that's expected of you is that you show up for you. The interesting thing about that is that the person that's asking you that, which is me, can see right through you, whether you're showing up or you're not. But imagine your job is contingent. You're not showing up for yourself for a month, and anyway. So it's
no. That's listen. Yeah. Listen. That I've said that line. So as I told you on our last session, people have been coming to me just asking me.
Yeah, and that's what happens. You become a lighthouse.
Yeah. What's going on with you, man? You look great, dude. What's going on? It's just like, hey, man, been doing some stuff, taking care of myself better.
And that's when the accelerator needs to be stuck to the floor with respect to how you're showing up for yourself, because it's in those moments where you start to see.
That's how the ego disguises itself.
Exactly. Yes. It's very, 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 very ingenious. It'll come in a way and disguise itself as that person who's giving you accolades and being all these different things. Yes. And you start thinking that you're this thing when in actuality, your frequency is becoming lighter, the light is shining brighter, and naturally people are gravitating towards you, and you got to be very careful that you don't let them stick their energy to you.
Yes, totally true.
Which is why that practice every morning is so fundamentally important.
Oh, yes.
Otherwise, you'll watch yourselves begin to deteriorate.
Well, the more you walk towards the light gets brighter and brighter. So there's no sense, but I know what my ego is.
And the darker the shadow you cast.
So you start, exactly, the longer the shadow too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? So you, when you're talking about how many times I go into my ego. So even within emails. So the other day, my co-host for the lighting show, we're back and forth. We want to do this live stream event, right? Mm-hmm. And so I wrote this email and I was about to send it to the person that was on the other end of it. And I stopped and I said, no, I better send it to Greg first. Mm-hmm. So I sent it over to Greg and he's like, replies back to me. He's like, no. A lot of people don't like conflict, dude. And I know you think it's hilarious, but it's not. Yep. Right? And she's not going to take it up, blah, blah, blah. So I thought about it and I thought, wow. And then I reread the email and I go, holy ego.
Yep.
Thank God I stopped myself.
And the beautiful thing about, again, this is this awareness. We don't have to then beat ourselves up and think, oh, well, I've been meditating every day for 3 months. Why is my ego coming in? Which is what a lot of people do. It's just an aspect of you, and you're unraveling, pulling the onion back, the layers more and more and more. And as you commit to the process, going down the wormhole, it becomes more fine-tuned, and harder to catch, right? The way that the ego starts presenting itself, right? It's really interesting. And I see people that reach levels of balance in their life, but never go beyond it. Right, we have an expansiveness, so it's really beautiful where things are.
Oh, dude, that's so true. It's so true.
So if we look at this whole process, so the whole idea of identifying what your traumas are and now actively going in. So a couple of questions for you with regards to this, and then we're going to go to the tool that is also a part of this Tibetan cleaning system. So are you finding the experience in being the observer, being there in the heart and observing the trauma take place again as something that is very difficult?
There's ones that I've identified.
Okay.
That I haven't been able to get past.
Okay.
And it's funny because I don't seem to want to go to the ones before those ones.
Okay.
So I'm stuck in a year.
Okay.
Particular year of my life.
And just keep working the process. That's it. This is the beautiful thing about this is you just keep. So if you have that trauma and you go in and you go down into the heart, you inhale one time, you bring the hands up to what we call heart height, right? Or what I call heart height. You inhale, breathing rhythmically, you exhale, bringing them apart.
And then you know what's weird? They naturally stay to the left in front of your heart when you do it.
Yeah, right. So the inhaling is bringing the energy back through the heart sphere, and the exhaling is expunging the energy.
Weird, if you try to go like this, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, interesting.
When you're meditating,
interesting. Yeah,
you can feel the
you feel the energy moving.
Yeah, there's people out there that are going to go, these guys are nuts.
Oh yeah, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
I was one of those guys a decade
totally
ago.
With them. I'm with you, bro.
I was with that. I was that guy.
Sure.
You tried to tell me that I'd be sitting in a podcast talking about fucking love and stuff like that. Part of my language.
Yeah.
I tell you, you're absolutely nuts. 10 years ago, crazy. Right. So what happens is the consequence.
I'm ego man. I will never do that.
The consequence of you focusing on the process of cleaning the energy that you have taken on in relationship to that trauma, right? The consequence of that is a more balanced, right? And what does that look like? You might now all of a sudden sleep wonderful. You might now not be so quick to anger. We don't need to focus specifically on, right? There's different avenues we can. So you keep working it. You have your list there. Now, if you go into the heart, have you noticed when you go in to clean a trauma that a different image of something else comes up ever?
I start off and I just go back and then I run into this one spot.
Okay.
I keep running
as you're cleaning.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've cleaned a bunch of stuff, but I keep running into this one spot.
And what's the emotion that's connected to that spot?
Bitterness.
Bitterness. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So now when you're going back in, when you say that spot, when you go back into your heart now, go directly to that point.
I never verbalized that before. Until right now.
Go direct, and that's a big part of it for you. Go directly to that point.
So don't walk the whole path to it. Don't go through everything before and say hi.
No, just go into your heart and go right to recreate the trauma or the experience right before the bitterness starts to come, and then start working the process through bitterness.
It's like cleaning a messy room.
This is the whole process of this. This is no different, and this is why I really love this, because it's a cleaning.
So hang on, you're saying go to the point before the trauma?
No. So if you're working one trauma, right? Go back into the whole experience. And just keep working it. But if
when you say work it, do you mean like try to invoke the emotions of that moment?
Well, you're not trying to. You're just letting them come.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. But you're not blocking them.
No. Because here's the whole thing. So your spirit is in the heart where time is spherical. You're recreating the trauma. It's happening right now. It's not a memory of it. It's not going in.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But so is the bitterness like a shield against the negative emotions I'm supposed to allow through, like the sadness I had?
Possibly.
So I go there and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
And that's exactly, you don't want to do it because that's the ego resisting the process. Possibly. Just keep working that trauma.
Just keep going there.
Just keep working it. That's it. You keep going there and you keep doing the process. You keep it until you feel that sitting has completed for the day, right? And then you'll know once you've cleaned that trauma completely.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So you just have to, you keep going back to that same trauma, and you might have to have 30 or 40 sittings to clean.
I'm already at it.
To clean 30, one. Yeah, so just keep working it. Keep working it.
Other ones, like I just went right through them.
Exactly. Good. Perfect. So what
that one, it's like boom.
Exactly. So what that means is you're getting closer and closer to the source, right? And closer to the source of knowing what you are. Because as you divulge and as you clean all of your traumas, now those traumas are connected to identities, your intellect, all these different things. For sure. So now all of a sudden they're all gone.
Well, you know what's interesting? Can I ask you something? Does the these identities that we have for ourselves, they can be, they're all negative, but there can be ones that are egotistically positive and egotistically negative.
Your perception of negative and positive is one and the same, right? It's the same value.
Okay, but here's my thing. So if my label is, let's call it one of low self-esteem, instead of inflated ego, like I'm not good enough for this or that, or I feel like I feel like a traitor, like something negative, right? Is that also my ego? I guess it is.
Of course,
it's like a negative ego.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, definitely.
And I want to reinforce and validate my negative label for myself.
Yes, exactly. That's just it. So the individual who sees them superior.
That's why I'm having trouble with it.
So the people who sees themselves, the person who sees themselves superior, it's self-validating. The person who sees themselves as inadequate is also self-validating.
Yeah, they're validating their ego, but it's one happens to be a negative, the other, or whatever.
Exactly right.
Negative or
exactly
positive.
Right. So again,
both of them are inflating an ego.
Yeah, when we focus on the center and we focus on what we are, and we work a process that brings us back to our origin. Now we have a clear lens in which we are perceiving or viewing life from. When we're centered in self, I mean, it's interesting.
Dude, I can't wait to go meditate after this.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's amazing when you have these insights, and these insights occur in simple conversation based upon the experiences you've been having and working a process. So the interesting thing about it, so let's hypothesize for a minute that you have cleaned this whole life. All of the experiences in this life you have cleaned. So you're an empty vessel. You're literally just going through life without no energetic blockages, which means people can say or do whatever they want to you, and it's not going to cause you to react. You're always in a responsive state, because the reactive mind is where most people are. But then you have the witness or the observer.
Honk your horn because somebody cut you off.
You have the witness or the observer, one and the same, which is the bridge into the real mind. And the real mind is to see things as they are, not as you are. Right? And that only comes as a consequence to practice. That's it. You can't just say, I'm going to go spend $999 so that I can understand what it is to be centered in self. No, it's why there's such great admiration for all of these masters that have walked on this planet, because of their commitment to themselves in showing us the way in whatever that is. Now, to expand upon this, so you're actively integrated in cleaning in your meditation practice. So maybe you do it 3-4 days in a row, and maybe you wake up for the next 3 or 4 days. You know what? I'm just going to chill and listen to the birds and all that kind of stuff, because it is work. So if you're finding that you're becoming too energized from the Tibetan cleaning meditation, or you're becoming too
I can't do it every day, dude.
Yeah, no, I know. Exactly. That's what I was getting at.
Like I started off doing it every day.
Too much. Yeah, and it takes me like 45 minutes to recover. And you can find that you become too energized, too happy.
Reiki's like that too,
Yeah,
man.
of course. Yeah, of course, because you're working your energy body. No different than going for a workout in the gym. You work out hard on Monday, and Tuesday morning you're not going to go in and do the same thing and kick your ass again, right? It's no different. You have to be kind, compassionate, and patient with yourself. That being said, you have to hold yourself accountable, which isn't an issue for you. Now, step number 2 in this system. reversing. So you have cleaned everything to date. Let's just hypothesize. Now we want to clean the energy of the day. We don't want to accumulate any more energy. We don't want to, right? We don't want to accumulate any more the images in which we're seeing and perceiving as good or bad. We don't want them to stick to us. We don't want to have a sale or a new merger with a company in your business, and then that puts us on this high horse for the next month because we've got this great victory. We want to be able to exist in this environment on the planet and not be affected by it. Right? Which means you're always balanced, always in this beautiful, blissful state. So reversing is very, very simple. I do it 3 times a day is what I would suggest. So you're literally just going into your heart, and we're going to do it right now practically, and you're sitting there in a movie theater, like watching your day from that point backwards in reverse.
You know what's so... I actually stumbled upon this.
Okay.
This already, in a way.
Beautiful.
In meditation.
Beautiful.
Because there's day I usually meditate. I pray in the morning, and then I meditate around this time, or a little bit later before lunch, and then I pray again at night. Mm-hmm. And a couple times during my prayer, I went into meditation. Mm-hmm. So it's a different thing for me. But sometimes I'll just go straight into a meditation. Of course. And then what was happening was like I was going back and like looking at interactions I had with people, positive or negative, in like a curious way. Like curiosity is the best way to call it. I don't know if it's the right word.
No,
but it's like I'm going back and I'm like, oh, look at that. Look at that person.
That's an observation. That's beautiful. Right? The curiosity is observing something, right?
Yeah.
A judgment has an emotional charge. Yeah, exactly. Which is beautiful because the more and more that we work in a meditative practice, it starts to expand into our daily life. So we become the observer. So you'll find yourself in interaction with a coworker, and it's like you're observing it from afar.
Well, here's what happens. So I sometimes when I'm talking to one of my employees, and it's going really well, and they're learning. You understand? Because when I'm talking to them, I'm teaching them. I'm just a teacher. Right. So I'm talking to them, and sometimes I feel like I leave myself in a way.
Beautiful.
And I'm like watching it, and I'm telling myself what to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because the more present you are in the center, the life slows down.
Yes, exactly. It totally does.
It's literally like it's happening in slow motion. You can see the plays 10 in advance. You'll start to have experiences where you already know what the person's going to say before they say it.
Sure.
It's really interesting. So the reversing process is very simple. You do not become engaged in any of the experiences. You just sit and watch, like literally being at the Cineplex Odeon or whatever they call it here in Canada, watching a movie. So my suggestion is to do it 3 times a day. So if you get up at 6, at say 10 a.m., in the early stages, I'd set an alarm. Get up in the morning, you're up at whatever time, set an alarm for noon. That alarm goes off, it says reversing right there on your phone. You close your eyes. If you're in the office, shut your door. When I was working in the health clubs and that, I would go into the stall in the washroom, close the door, go into my heart, and I'd watch my day in reverse from that point till 6 a.m. Then at 5 p.m., I'd reverse from 5 till noon. And then when I went to bed, I'd reverse from bedtime to 5 p.m. What this does is cleans the energy of the day. So you're actively involved in identifying primary traumas, cleaning them in a meditation space where you're in a very safe environment to relive these traumas, which are very difficult to handle. Right? Now you're reversing the energy of your day to not accumulate any more energy. And the third step to it is the switching of your energy in the moment when you feel a secondary emotion that arises. Right? So secondary emotion. So a secondary emotion is stimulated essentially because we are not honoring primary
This
instinct.
is total self-mastery, what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course it is. Complete self-mastery. It's complete reprogramming.
Like, dude, this is complete self-mastery.
Yes. It's to become, essentially that's what I call it, becoming a masterful human. Which I'm not there, by the way, so I'm not sitting here claiming that I am this thing yet, but I am focused on the processes.
You know what? I mean, you know what? What does the Muji say?
Yeah.
I'm saying this because it's not my ego saying.
No,
what was that one you sent me? What was that one you sent me?
I am that.
Yeah.
When he's
you're that dude.
When he's I'm aware. When he's asked what the highest expression of his master is, he said it's me, and he said that sometimes you have to say what you are, and it's not arrogance, and it isn't. Yeah. Right. So
I will listen to that. I watched that thing like 5 times.
Yeah. I
see the girl crying in the back.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. when I run that process, we just ran that process down at like the full which is essentially.
Dude, you're a messenger from God, bro.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to label.
I appreciate
labels
that.
out there.
Yeah.
Whatever label it is for, someone that's deeply spiritual, he has it.
And what puts you in that place is your own attention to yourself. The only reason that for me in the last 6 months, things are starting to speed up on a global level with notoriety and things like that, and it's all essentially only because of the work that's done every morning when nobody's watching. The 4 or 5 hours that for me, just thinking about that time with myself, I start to get this sense of becoming emotional. I mean, it's what a beautiful gift to give yourself, to get to a point where you can just watch the trees and it brings tears to your eyes.
Yes.
That's living. What do you think happens when I look at a human being now? It's like people ask me how you doing today, and it's the answer is usually the same. I'm sparkling, because that's exactly how I feel.
Dude, that's so gay.
I feel so gay. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that,
yeah, you're good.
but you know what I mean. But that's and I have this friend down in Panama who she's just a beautiful energy and does a lot of beautiful work, and that's where the word came from. And whenever I'm thinking, how am I feeling right now? Where you're going back to checking in, if I'm not sparkling, then who am I surrounding myself with? What was I doing today? Yeah. Who am I not being? So I just live my life in a way to sparkle as best as I possibly can.
You're still observing the sparkling.
Exactly. So, and the interesting thing about it, with the conversation we just started with leaving the mind out there, which is the way of what Muji's talking about. You're in this place where it can't be touched, can't be spoken to, but you are the most powerful to access your life from that place where people think being in this deep state of union with God is not or spirit or Allah or whatever you want to call it, Jesus, doesn't make you a powerful force to be reckoned with here on this planet, in business, in relationships, and whatever it is. It is the most powerful.
As an athlete,
it is the most powerful.
For sure.
I don't know what it would be like if I was in the heart playing professional sports still, because I play professional hockey.
Let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
So, Mike Tyson went on the Joe Rogan Experience. Okay. And this is so weird. How much since the last 6 weeks I've encountered people that are speaking against their ego, that are saying, I want to live in my essence. They don't use the same word essence.
Yes.
But they use the word ego. So Mike Tyson goes on the Joe Rogan Experience, and they're talking about doing drugs and partying and him having 6 tigers and wrestling tigers and all that sort of stuff. And they were laughing and joking about it, looking back. But Mike was like, I don't want to go there anymore. I don't want to get in that ego place again.
Yeah.
And he's like, and Joe looks at him or whatever, and they're talking about, like, what are you talking about, man? It's like, I don't want to be that guy in his ego and with the cars and the cats and the this and then that and the drugs and the cocaine and this sort of stuff. He's like, I don't want to be that guy. I want to stay here where I am now. This is Mike Tyson with the tattoos on his face. I want to stay here. He's found peace, dude.
Yeah, of course.
And he had a tortured childhood, right? Yeah. And I'm listening to this, and Mike Tyson's talking about this. And then he's like, do you think you could have been the heavyweight champion of the world without your ego?
Yeah.
And he didn't answer, which is interesting.
It's interesting because, and I don't know what the answer to that is. It's interesting.
Like, could Mike Tyson would he have been able to be the destroyer of worlds? Literally.
I mean,
like, that guy was.
You look at. I
don't care about UFC or anything else. That guy was the craziest fighter I ever saw.
And that's the era. And that's the era when I was growing up watching that.
Sure.
But I mean, the interesting thing.
That was the scariest guy that ever got in a ring or an octagon.
Yeah, the interesting thing first and foremost is that what do all people want? People want to be loved, right? Tyson had a difficult childhood. What did he create? He created a reality where people loved him because they feared him. Right? Fans, anybody not fear?
I don't know what it was. It was but there was a deep negativity there.
But nonetheless, Mike Tyson craved to be loved.
Yes.
I crave to be loved. You crave to be loved. Right? It's
our
interesting.
ego craves to be loved.
If you look at it's an interesting question to be. Exactly. You look at the Shaolin monks, these great Zen masters that can do all kinds of funky stuff, right? That's because they're there in the center, observing the mind and the body do these different actions, right? Pain is emotional. So if you remove the emotion, is the pain still there? So for somebody who's operating within a sport at a high level, if they're truly there, now the amount of training, lifetime for them to be able to be there in the ring and be going toe to toe with somebody and be in the eye of the hurricane and see that the mind and the body is nothing more than a robotic.
No, I think no.
I think you need
no.
You need the passion.
Gretzky and Jordan were both in their essence.
I don't know about that.
No,
because what
but they talk about the time slowing down, the world slowing down for them, and
they're
all
in
that.
flow. Because the question
okay.
would be asked: is there a desire to win a championship if you were completely immersed in self? Right.
I think yes.
Possibly. But the desire is an extension of the ego.
No, but like, listen, I've never been a better. I'm the best manager, human resources manager, podcaster, everything when I'm in my essence.
Yes.
After we did that heart meditation, I did the greatest Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, by far the most downloaded, shared podcast ever, and I was 100% in my essence, or whatever.
Yes.
I was in my essence.
But also remember that essence and survival mechanism, or essence and ego, are both extensions of the brain in connection with the mind. Right, so inside of this thing here, you have your essence, which is who you really are. And then you have. But
I wasn't trying to be a good podcaster.
Yeah, no, you were just there being you.
Yes,
but there's still a desire.
Completely,
there's still some form of desire there to put something out there that is an extension of this aspect of you. I guess the argument here, and I don't know what the answer is, but if one is truly immersed in expression of self, there is no interest. There's no desire, there's no wanting, there's no yearning for anything in the physical.
Agreed. Reality. But you're still moving forward through the universe.
Of course.
So when you're moving through the universe, that could be playing a hockey game.
Or backwards, depending on where you think you are, or within.
Right. Yeah. So let's say you achieve your essence, you're in your essence, and you're moving through the universe, and one of those things is showing up for yourself, practicing your hockey, eating right, being fit, and one of those things is actually playing a hockey game. Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you play it any better, the best you possibly can?
Yeah, it's definitely a more powerful way to come at it. I guess the question to be asked is,
and you could be the observer holding the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting.
You would know more than me as an athlete.
I don't.
So if you were,
I don't know the answer to that because
let me ask you this then. I'm going to challenge you.
But listen. But the reason I don't is because I can hypothesize what I think the answer would be, but I don't know to experience it because I'm not there right now.
Agreed.
Right.
But let's say you were in your essence at 19.
Yeah.
And you were living in your essence even 60% of the time.
Yeah.
Or 100% of the time, or 90%. If you were there, you don't think that you would have won more championships, scored more goals, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's again.
You're not sure, eh?
Again, I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure because the interesting thing about this is that everything that is entailed within that sport and everything we're talking about is an identity that has been created, right? And that identity that's been created has an intellect and a set of emotions and a set. So
when I leave here and I go to make Lighting Solutions the best company it can, I feel like I can. Like I'm better.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
So I don't see why it wouldn't apply to sports then.
The whole, first and foremost, the whole aspect of sport, like football, baseball, hockey, is going completely against the primary instinctual aspect of you, which is the physical body and movement. Your body does not want to play 82 hockey games in a season. Trust me. Your body doesn't even want to be in a gym once a week. What your body actually needs to be satiated for you to be a very masterful human is very little movement, but done in a conscious way. Right, so this whole aspect of sport that we are so caught up in is illusionary.
I see what you're saying. You couldn't get to the physique without.
No, right. Yeah. So the amount of self-sabotage that is necessary for you to get the physical body to function at that frequency and that level, at a professional level, is actually self-sabotaging the totality of what you are. Right, because you're sacrificing so much. Right. In different areas. So
I'm not doing that as the manager of.
No, you're right. So again, this is something that's up for argument's sake, right? And the arguments are always coming from how we identify with it or don't identify with it. I'm trying to look at it as a witness and saying, you know what? I don't really know the answer to it because I haven't experienced it, right? And for me, I speak to my experiences. Yes, you can be in that state of flow as an athlete because I've been there. Are you in your heart? Am I being compassionate and loving when I'm in the overtime and about to take a pass on the blue line for a one-timer to win the game? Am I feeling I don't want to hurt that person's feelings that's in net? Am I feeling compassionate and loving when I'm trying to put my fist through a guy's face because it's part of how I earn a paycheck? Not so much. It's a competitive nature, and that competitiveness is connected to economic growth and connected to this idea that it's going to make us something better than what we are now.
I get to put the belt on.
And that whole idea of better than what we are now is an illusion because what you're saying and what you're admitting is that you're not whole as you are where you are. And we just figured out that when you put the mind out there, there's a wholeness to you that needs nothing.
Yeah.
So all of these things in yearning to win championships and all these stuff. And I know, listen, in Canada, I mean, this is probably rubbing people a little bit the wrong way, but sport creates separation. It does not bring togetherness. Maybe at the first stages with youth, but look at youth hockey in this city. It's disgusting.
Crazy. Yeah,
it's
it's
disgusting.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Right? Sport. Yes. What do we do as adults?
Like the things you see in youth hockey, the reactions of parents, the shouting from the stands at the refs, as if a referee of a bantam select game cares or is trying to sabotage your team is so outrageous to think.
It's interesting, right? But these are
the refs against
these are the stories.
The coach of the other team gave the ref $200 before the game.
These are the stories that validate people's lives and make them feel important, right? It's interesting. It's if you look at the way that this stuff flows, we as adults, first and foremost, the Western world will take everything and screw it up. Anything, the best and most purest of anything, will completely, screw it up. Look at yoga, for instance. I mean, it's interesting, right? Look at sport. Kids, why does a kid go to play sport?
Competitive yoga.
Kid because
there's competitive yoga.
Oh, I know, it's crazy. So it's and not to take anything away from yoga.
No,
but there's a lot of cofactors that come into play before anyone should even enter into a yoga class with spine structure and all these. Anyways, we as adults take everything and butcher it. So what do kids do? Kids 3-4 years of age watching, I don't know, Austin Matthews on the TV and decides he wants to play hockey because it makes him feel good watching whatever he's doing. Now he goes out and starts playing hockey, and us adults step in and make it a business. Right? So it's what is the craving and yearning for men? If you go back to us as hunters and gatherers, we would get together before we would hunt, and that was our camaraderie.
Yes.
Why do you see more men in bars?
Camaraderie. Yeah.
Exactly, because we need this sense of belonging. Right? In sport, we need this sense of togetherness. It actually has nothing to do with the outcome. Very interesting thing. He'll use this analogy, and then we'll do the practical tool here. Others will be here for the next month or so. If you took the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees, which is a horrible rivalry, right? They hate each other. Yeah. I mean, the fans, right? Yeah. We're looking, and you traded the Boston Red Sox to New York and the New York Yankees to Boston and had them play the next day. This is actually this analogy was from a good friend of mine, this gentleman who's an expert on Grandy named Garrett and his wife Dana. But he said, "Who do you think they'd cheer for?"
They would cheer for the Red Sox again.
Which tells us that they don't give a shit about the outcome, and they don't care about the players. They care about the story
and the tribe.
They care about the tradition, right?
Yeah.
What do we as kids care about? We care about togetherness. We care about community. We care about having fun, right? Put $1 million in a room and a kid playing in the corner and bring another kid in. Who do they gravitate towards? The kid, right?
Sure.
We've lost our way on this planet. We think that life is about how important we are, how much stuff that we own, how much that we belong, all these things. It's ridiculous.
Who dies with the most money wins.
We do things we don't like doing to go on doing things we don't like doing so we can consume as much shit as possible.
Yeah.
We need to we need to stop, and we need to get back to ourselves.
Yes.
Right? So when you reverse the day, you essentially allow yourself to clean the energy of the day by moving backwards through it. Right? The third aspect to this is switching of energy, which is in real time and needs to usually be done within the first 2 or 3 seconds of a secondary emotion coming up. I think we leave that for when we
Come again with that. Sorry.
Yeah, the switching of the energy tool, I think we leave to
the secondary emotion you're going to leave out for
me? Let's do that next week because there's an image I'll bring up on the screen. Let's do the reversing right now. So what we'll do here is we'll actually exercise the tool, right? Because everything we do here was with a purpose. It's to have a certain consequence, which is the life becomes more beautiful. It becomes more effortless. You start to see your strength and power in a state of beingness and how powerful it can be to create from that place. So once we do the tool, then we'll just go off in meditation with some other things. So just sit there in that comfortable meditative posture, whatever that is for you. Sitting in a chair, it can help to use what's called Pharaohs Posture. So your spine is straight and your feet are on the floor with your hands face down on your knees. The palms can become very sensitive in meditation, so keeping them down ensures that they won't bring you out of a meditative state. So we keep the spine as straight as possible to allow the energy to move, and it can also help to slightly tuck your chin into your throat. And breathing naturally. So inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Just allow your body to completely relax. You can focus your attention there at the eyebrows and Say with your inner voice, I am completely relaxed. The shoulders, they're the second point at which we carry all of our emotional stress. I am completely relaxed. And down to the hip area, the psoas muscle, the third point in which we carry emotional stress. I am completely relaxed. Breathing naturally, see, sense, feel, or know that you're there in a beautiful garden, sitting in lotus posture. Nature is all around you. And there above you is a beautiful blue sky that represents your mind. And the clouds in the sky represent your thoughts. So for a moment, just experience what it is to be the watcher of the mind. The mind is up there, the beautiful blue sky. The thoughts are clouds in the sky. Just watch. And as you inhale, feel a cool, calm breeze come from the right to the left, moving your thoughts off into the distance. Clouds completely dissipating as they go on their way. As you inhale, a calm breeze comes from the right to the left, moving more of your thoughts off into the distance. Clouds dissipating. As sure as they come on their way, they go on their way. As you sit from a place of non-interference, you just watch. With one final inhalation, a last gust of wind, like on a beautiful summer day, coming from the right to the left, and the last thoughts there fade off into the distance. Clouds completely dissipated. And there before you is a beautiful blue sky. The mind is quiet, and you are there in the seat of your awareness, the center. And begin to breathe rhythmically. Your inhalation and exhalation is through your nose, similar in length. Close your mouth and place your tongue to the roof in any location. Breathing through your diaphragm, completely relaxed. As you inhale, bring prana, life force energy, from above and below, down through the crown and up through the perineum. These two energies meet and become a singularity there in the center of your heart, or the center of the lower heart chakra sphere. As you inhale, bring prana from above and below into the center of your heart, and exhale prana from the center of your heart. This beautiful, beautiful way of breathing life force, this golden energy coming in from above and below. And breathing this way throughout the exercise. In your imagination, be there with Mother Earth, and whatever that means to you. Be in this place where you are at peace. Life makes sense to you. Life slows down. Hear the birds singing. Look off into the horizon and feel Mother Earth's vibration, her resonance. She's giving you everything, including your body. Just feel her. See yourself in the beauty of nature all around you. It is a reflection of your own beauty. Now from your heart, send a beam of light down to the heart of Mother Earth. Literally see a beam of light coming from your heart down through your perineum and connecting to Mother Earth's heart. And send her your love. I love you, Mother Earth. Thank you. And feel the love that is flowing from her to you. As you inhale, breathe her love from below up into your heart. And as you exhale, send your love back to her. Feel your breath become one. Your hearts align as one heart. And while keeping this connection up there, turn your attention to the cosmos, to our universal Father, and to all of creation, to all that exists beyond this planet, this sphere we call home, to Father, Son, your cosmic Father. For without his light, life would be incapable. From your heart, send a beam of light up through your crown to his heart. Feel the love that is flowing from him to you and from you to him. I love you, Father, Son. Thank you for your support. Feel how much your Divine Father and Divine Mother love one another. It is this love that created you. Breathe their love from above and below into the center of your heart and exhale your love back to them. I love you, Mother Earth. I love you, Father, Son. And in fact, say I love you to yourself also. Breathe in all three directions, from above, from below, and from your center. I love you, Mother Earth. I love you, Father, Son, and say I love you to yourself. In this moment, we create the Holy Trinity vibration, which can be necessary or is necessary for you to enter into the heart. So I love you, Mother Earth. I love you, Father, Son, and I love you to yourself. Say your name. Breathing rhythmically from above and below, see, sense, feel, or know you're there in the middle of the brain, surrounded by skull. Notice how the brain feels. There is a safety to it, where all of your failures and your victories exist, all of your relationships, all of that which you think you are, is here in this environment. Just feel it. Now we're going to go home. We'll use the same method that we've used before because it works so efficiently. There at your feet is a golden spiral staircase. As above, so below, as Hermes so eloquently stated. We can move within ourselves. Let's leave the brain and go to the heart now. Run to your heart. Go down the stairs, passing the level, the throat, the upper chest, down to the middle of the chest there. Step out to the left and open the door to your heart. Go in. Don't think. Close the door behind you, lock it, and exhale one time. Feel the heart in comparison to the brain. There is a sweetness to it, a softness. However so subtle it may be initially, with practice, it will become the most noticeable energy and feeling that you have in your life. You should always be in this space. Feel the heart in comparison to the brain. Also, often I'll taste honey when I enter in the heart. Feel the heart. There's a presence to it, a silence. Meditating there in the tiny space of the heart, bring your awareness to where you are at in your day now. And as though you're sitting in a beautiful movie theater and there up on the screen is your life playing, gently from this moment, watch your day in reverse. See yourself possibly moving backwards, talking backwards, food coming out of the body, or maybe you'll see in short segments as played forward and then you reverse back to the next one. But nonetheless, reverse from this point back to the beginning of your day when you woke up. But do not become emotionally charged by any of it. You are just watching without interfering. All the way back to the beginning of your day. At first it may take a few minutes. With practice it's very quick. And there we get back to the beginning. Essentially and efficiently cleaning the images that have been received through your physical experience from the beginning of today until now. So you clean the energy of them. You would then do this again at 5 or 6 p.m. or the second time back to this point now, and then again before bed. The reason we do 2 or 3 times is so you don't fall asleep. Now, meditating in the tiny space of the heart inside of your Leonardo sphere, like that sphere around you, feel yourself begin to lift up off the ground, moving up towards the ceiling. Now move through. You as spirit can move anywhere. Move through the roof of this building. Up. Up, up, up. And we move up just above the cloud line. And there we are. Now, from this place, go and explore. Fly. Go into the oceans. Swim with the fish. Go wherever you choose. You are completely boundless. Fly over your home, wherever you choose. Feel yourself. This is what you really are. Now fly to one place on this planet. The first place that comes in a natural way, and see and sense in an instant all that is taking place there. Now to another place, somewhere. Go there, fly there, immediately you're there, and see and sense all in an instant that is occurring in that part of the world. And now come back, as much as you may not want to this place here above the cloud line. And gently we move down, down, down. You can see the city all around, the city of Toronto down there, and city of Markham. As we move down gently above this building, down through the roof, gently down, 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 touching back down where you are. And for a minute or so, just before coming out of meditation, explain in your own words to yourself how that experience of flying was for you. Gently exhale one time. And when you feel this is complete, open your eyes. We'll get the lights back on.
I don't think I can get up right yet.
Yeah, I can get the lights. You relax.
Whew.
Nice and bright.
Yeah. Oh, I need a dimmer on that thing. It's real. Do you know any lighting company around here? Oh, man. That was crazy, man. That was great.
Yes, how's the flying? Where'd you fly to?
Well, I flew back in time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. What'd you see?
I don't know if I want to share it with the whole world, but it was a real special place for me.
Good.
And you know, it was weird. My ego came in the middle of meditation, and it was like, you can't go back there. You'll never go back there. You'll never have that again. And I said, I'm going to go back there right now. Yeah. And I was talking to my ego, like seriously, like so when you first told me to fly, what happened was I flew up in the tiny space of my heart, and I was bumping it. It just sounds so crazy.
No,
I was bumping, and then I was like, oh, I have to leave the heart first. It's weird. My heart was. What am I talking about?
Yeah. It's all. You know what's so interesting? What's so interesting is
my heart was bumping around on the roof here.
Yeah.
And you were up there, and you're like, okay, let's go. And you coming or what? And I was like, oh, I have to leave here. So I have to leave.
When in fact you're in your heart the whole time.
Well, but whatever. Like I flew up, right? I flew up there, and then you said, okay, let's go. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go over here. And I heard you, but like you weren't with me anymore. And I went to those places and that my ego said, no, you can't do that. And I was like, I'm doing it anyway. And I went, and it was like, I was there again. And it's like, oh, this is so beautiful. It's as beautiful as I remember it was. It's nice to be here again.
Beautiful. It's interesting, right? It's, you know, like a meditation like this is
oh, and I flew past some places I didn't want to go.
Yeah. How did you find it when I suggested that you go to a place in the world that came in a natural? So by natural, it means whatever comes initially, and go to that place and see, sense, and feel everything in an instant.
Yeah, I went to the place, and then I realized that I was in that place back in time.
Yep.
And so I just moved to it into the present.
Beautiful, because also remember,
like I didn't go anywhere else. I was in the same place, but then it was 2019.
Well, time is an illusion, right? So past, present, and future all are actually happening simultaneously right now. So when you're in the heart, you can be 100 years ago. You could be 100 years from now. It's
interesting because you know that guy Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
You know what he always says?
Yeah.
He always says, "Future you is you."
Yeah. It's the truth. Yeah,
that's you.
Yeah, exactly, right.
The future you is you.
Trying to wrap your monkey mind around
naked ape.
Yeah, I know, right? Trying to wrap
the future you. That's you too.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you going to be then? Go there and see what you're going to be.
Yeah, right. And you know, the argument would be had is that just be it now.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're just you, and it was so weird because I had such a wonderful experience in the last 5 minutes.
So the reversing, simple, right?
Oh, the reversing. Yeah, I forgot about the reversing.
That's the tool, right?
We started with
the
that.
Rest of the
Is that how you go to that place?
Well, no. The rest of the meditation was just to give you a beautiful experience, right?
Oh,
right.
Thank you.
Which the beautiful experience. Not only that, like it allows us to deconstruct this attachment to personhood, right?
So the reversing is a beautiful practice. Already, first time I've done it.
Yep.
But what you're doing is you're going like. What I did is I went back and I listened to my own conversations.
It's one of the interesting things when you start doing it is you start to see how ridiculous you can actually behave, right? Tibetan cleaning meditation, reversing. When I see you next week, we'll do the switching of the energy tool. You do those three things together, and you do them with a significant commitment to them. You might now the reversing and the switching of energy, you'll find yourself doing daily because it's the nature of how they work. The meditation you might do once a week because it can become disruptive in your life if you have too much energy, not enough. You know, hey, we're still living in the Western world here, right? I mean, the most difficult part of the world to spiritually evolve. And we have obligations. We have to go to work. We have to do these things. What we're not suggesting here is that you go and just quit all those. We're just asking you to look at the way in which you function in a different way than maybe you've never really. Sure. Maybe
you're still moving through the world.
Exactly, and but in a much more balanced way.
And
and that's the interesting thing about spiritual people. I don't understand why we have this idea that it's because I'm spiritual I can't have any money.
Oh, that's all labels.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So
you're back to
when you work the mechanism, work the mechanism accordingly, the mechanism does what you choose for it to do, and you can duck and weave and live however you choose.
Listen, if you're listening to this and you're doubtful or whatever, I'll tell you this: the spiritual world, whatever word you want to use to describe the world that Luke and I are going into here, whatever that is for you, spiritual, holistic, whatever word label you put on it, the name that can be named is not the eternal name.
Yes, exactly. Okay? Well said.
So whatever language it is, that whatever it is that you name it, this is a real place that you need to discover and engage in yourself, because it is as real as mathematics and science and flying to the moon and driving your car and everything else. Well, and it might be the most meaningful part of it is the most meaningful part of your life. And your Western world, you're denying its existence.
Yeah. Yeah, I would completely agree. It is the most real.
Yes, for sure.
You know, and it really is such a beautiful thing. And as we spoke about earlier, it can't be known, can't be touched, can't be spoken to. It can only be experienced. That's it. So And that experience is the greatest gift that you will ever give to yourself. You won't need anything else. It'll make everything else in your life sweeter. It'll make everything mean more. It'll make your marriages, your stuff, everything will have this fragrance that emanates this sparkling light to it.
Yeah,
for
sure.
But you got to do the work.
For sure.
Which is simple and complex.
Yeah, for sure.
So just do it. In the words of the great master I work with, Daniel Mattel, like the Nike slogan, just do it.
Yeah. Show up for yourself every day, folks.
God bless you.
Yeah. You know what? Just do it.
Engaged into this process and exercise. We came at it from the nutrition aspect, which is herbs, right? We start working the energy through meditations and different things, well-being checklists. We're continuing to just up the ante, so to say, or up the relationship in you really emanating from this place of being, which again is a consequence of your due diligence, vigilant work, and looking within, right? As opposed to saying, go do this. I'm just saying, look at this. And through the looking is where the experience lies. And that's where the knowing now you know it as an experience, right? So
I have a confession for you, Luke.
Okay.
I cheated on you.
Okay.
Good. Because we didn't see each other for so long and I ran out of herbs.
Yeah.
I went to a herbalist.
Okay.
And I brought the herbs.
Yeah.
And I said, and he gave me some stuff. And I feel great.
Oh, good.
So if you want to give me more,
hey, man. Hey,
you weren't around, man. It's all your fault.
Hey, buddy, I don't take ownership of any of this. And to be perfectly honest with you, the main thing to me is you're feeling good. So if that's from a herb that we provide, or if it's a herb that falls out of the sky or from somebody else, the beautiful thing is you committed to your process. Yes. The less that you need me in that process is exactly what I want.
Well, I just felt like the universe, because I ran out.
Perfect.
I think at the end of December.
Perfect. Dude, you know yourself better than anybody, and I want to be obsolete in people's lives. I don't want to be needed, right? So,
that's a good way to put it. I don't want to be needed.
Yeah, because if I'm needed, I'm carrying around the importance of that.
Yes, for sure.
Man, I live my life like I'm 6 years old, bro. Nothing's important to me. Although I take a lot of responsibility over what my duty is to work within myself, and then naturally that has caused an environment where people are looking to work with me. That's where it's all come from. For sure. So I take it seriously, but I have fun with it, and it's not important.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right. So it's beautiful. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. So this is enjoyable, brother. But I'm in town for a little while, so maybe we'll put together a couple of weeks back to back.
For sure.
If it works for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
But so incorporate. So again, it's just an expansion of your practice, right? You develop the daily meditation practice, knowing the difference between being in your brain and in your heart.
So is the reversing, is that part so I meditate every day at about between 10 and 12.
The reversing is because what we're looking at doing now is
let me ask you for guidance here.
Yeah.
If I meditate, I'm going to keep my time the same between 10 and 12.
Yes.
If I do the reversing with that meditation, that works?
Yes, perfect. Reverse
and then just add one when I come home from work.
Yeah, you could do it twice a day.
No, and then one before bed.
Oh, yeah, that would be ideal. Yeah, 3, because the idea is you don't want to fall asleep. If you have difficulty sleeping, the best thing you can do is reverse your day when you're going to bed at night, one time. You typically will fall asleep before you get back to the beginning. We're not looking for you to fall asleep. What we're looking to do is now for you. So we start with an identified practice, which anybody can pretty much do, right? If they have the inspiration, right? Okay, I'm going to do this thing every day for 15 minutes. Okay, but now we have to expand beyond that practice, which is now your daily life becoming a meditation. What I mean by that is that life slows down. And how do we do that? Is we're cleaning actively, and now we're reversing the day. And now when I introduce you to the switching of energy next week, which is allowing you to stay present in the eye of their hurricane in the moment, which we will be using secondary emotions like frustration, bitterness, irritation as an access point to stimulate you staying in a state of harmony or peace. Yes. So imagine
because you know what? It's not here. It's with the interpersonal relationships that's the hardest.
Exactly. It's easy when the environment is pristine, like you're sitting in nature and the birds are all around you for you to be peaceful.
It's easy here now.
Yep.
It's easy for me here.
Beautiful.
Right at my office, it's easy now. I feel great.
Amazing.
Right? But most of the ego stuff, most of it, the stuff where I get out of my essence and I'm mad.
Yep.
I am mad.
Yep.
I am bitterness,
and that
not observing bitterness.
No, you become it, right?
But invoking it and engaging
you
becoming bitterness.
You become it, and we've already clarified through these podcasts that you actually can't be that emotion, right? That's just something that's coming and going like the seasons.
Yes.
It's appearing and disappearing.
Yes.
Why do we attach onto it like it's us, but then other ones we don't attach onto like it's us?
Folks, this is that internal monologue in your head.
Exactly.
Where you have a fight with your loved one, your daughter, your wife, your mother, and you're driving away and you're thinking, that person's so pathetic. I'm so sick of them. Da, 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 da. You're having this internal monologue in your head. And then, but if you just step back from it, you realize, oh, that's just bitterness coming to visit me.
Yep.
What do you want to say?
And just let it express
itself.
Because
you know that you're going to see your mom again.
I know. So why?
You're going to give her a hug again.
Why make the choice? Why make the choice to suffer through your life? I'll give you
yes.
You know what I mean? It's why. Now, here's the interesting thing about it. We are conditioned that a secondary emotion. What I mean by secondary emotion, we'll get into it next week. Primary emotions are fear and hate, right? The fun or fear and anger.
Oh, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
I could feel when we were doing the with Mother Earth.
Yeah.
When we started doing the energy, what do we call it?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
The unity breath. Yeah.
When it came up and down like that, right through the grounding mat. Bro.
I know.
I felt it go through the ground. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, we're seeing a beautiful addition to this podcast is we have grounding mats here, which is the best thing you could have. So if you a secondary emotion, which is frustration, irritation, there's a plethora of them, typically stimulates activation of the ego.
Hang on, coming at with that.
Okay, so the ego will present itself when you are on the verge of some new possibility or when you're in fear. And by fear means that you're seeing that you're here and that person's there. So you're engaging in conversation, which, I mean, primary language is gossip, trying to prove I'm right, you're wrong, whatever that looks
projecting.
like. Right? So it stimulates the ego. The ego, right?
Okay.
It's those stress hormones, norepinephrine, cortisol. The brain shuts off. It's not that person anymore. We can use those secondary emotions. We can train the brain, the mind to work in a way that's in our favor. So we use the secondary emotion to stimulate us staying in a state of harmony. So now what happens, you're in that interaction, that person says something that triggers something, and normally you would go into survival mechanism, which the brain shuts off and you're in that fight or flight state. What if that
start sending your snakes out
exactly.
at them?
What if
emotional
what
snakes
if that
start
thing
flying out?
Exactly. What if that thing stimulated you to stay in a state of harmony? Now you're centered as the engagement continues. Mm-hmm. You're not experiencing all the unhealthy things that come up as an extension of the ego chemically and that within the body, and you're able to see the solution because life is still working at slow motion, right? So we need to have that practice, but the practice can inhibit us. I see people, we call it, they get lost in samadhi. I mean, they get lost in bliss in their meditative practice, but they're not able to function out in the world.
Yes.
They can be the greatest meditator on the planet or the most spiritual in-tune person, but then you put them out there in the chaos of the planet and they can't function.
They can't get on a train.
That's not a masterful human.
Yes.
No. To be a masterful human means that you have that you can duck and weave, you know how to earn, you know how to this, all these different things, and it's all being done.
You know how to pull off a heist.
It's all being done from a place of non-desire. Uh-huh. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So
totally.
All right, brother. So start working with the reversing daily. So what we're doing is just imprinting new tools, right? And in a way where it's not this quantum leap because you understand why it's happening.
No, you have to do a journey.
You'll see what the reversing is, because with this stuff here, we start playing with realities. You have the finite realm, which is where we are, beings that have a creator. We have an end, we have beginning and an end.
Yeah.
You have the absentite realm, which they have a creator, but there's no beginning or end, which is where your higher self is functioning. And then you have the absolute, which always has been, always will be, and never was. Quite interesting to look at it that way, right? So when we start working in these imagery exercises, which is the Tibetan system of heart imagery, we start playing with realities. We start playing. So once you get the reversing down, then we'll start getting into how you reverse an experience and superimpose new images.
You brought it up. So now I'm going to bring up what I asked Scott to remind.
Okay.
Earlier it was from my ego.
Yeah.
I was like, we have to talk about this.
Okay, gotcha.
But then you already brought the subject up.
Yeah.
Indirectly. So it came up the right way.
Yeah.
So I think people, when they talk about these experiences where they use psychedelic drugs, so for whatever reason, what's come into my life recently a lot is when people have asked me about what I'm doing, and they see me in the gym meditating, and they come talk to me about what are you doing, right? So I tell them, and more than half a dozen people have mentioned to me that I should use psychedelic drugs.
Okay, well, you're speaking to somebody who actually knows them intimately, because I work at a facility down in Costa Rica that works heavily with plant medicine, ayahuasca specifically. Psychedelics are just this. It's an entry point. It's a tool. It's not the be all and end all. And I'm well versed in them, because for the last 10 years, my access point to live a beautiful life has been meditation, a natural process. The masters that I work with in that don't see why, and it's not advocated from Eastern tradition and mystic practice and that you use anything to achieve a certain sense of awareness. But it is a tool, and it's one that the Western world is enchanted with right now. Psilocybin being mushrooms, ayahuasca, iboga, which is a root that's very effective for getting people off opiate addiction. There are these beautiful things that can be used very well, but in the context of the individual, just like anything, not one thing is going to work for one and not for another.
Yeah.
This is the interesting thing, and the disability that has been created spiritually for the Western world is we hear something, we know nothing about it, and we go tell everybody they need to do it.
Yes.
Right? For a guy like yourself, do you need to use psychedelics? I would absolutely say, if you wanted to, it could be a beautiful experience for you in ceremonial fashion. Do you need it? No. Does anybody need anything?
See, for me, the way I look at it, it was like, what I was talking about was, the way they said it was that, I don't believe what you're talking about. It's unachievable, but I've heard that you can do it this way.
Yeah, it's
that. You understand what I mean?
It's a crutch, but you also have to.
No, I'm not against them.
No, and you also have to understand that people, anything that fractures a person's identity or the safety they've created to understand things in this world, they can't acknowledge it. So here's this guy that's able to sit in the corner meditating every morning in a loud, noisy gym. That can't be possible. Right? But I know that if he takes X, Y, and Z that creates this response, that can be possible. What we're doing in the heart is it more elevated. You're accessing your ability to see in a natural way. How do I walk into the room and see into a person's energy in that? Because I've worked this mechanism and I continue to do so every day. So naturally, I can see who you are, what you are, where your blockages are, all these things. And that's the way that you want to be. You want to go off it now. Now, for some people, the entry point, they need to go do some medicine because they're so stuck in their brain. But again, you cannot make a blanket statement for everybody. And that's where more lies the difficulty with all of these studies and things that are done. And I know that firsthand with what I do with herbs and things like that, right? I mean, I've seen cancer 10 times in the last month, and it's been 10 different perspectives and entry points for us to remedy it, right? Not just one way for everybody.
Let me, Carl Jung always said, be careful of unearned wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got a lot of repeaters in this part of the world. I call them repeaters. People that hear something and they go out and they spray it to the whole world, blue like this, as if they know it as a truth. To know it, you need to experience it.
Right.
It's why, like, the tools that are being offered to you are things that I have worked vigilantly, so I know in my being this thing works.
Sure.
Right. Most people in this, we're dense with intellect, like you just said, right? Within Carl Jung's words, a little bit more eloquent than mine, but it's the truth of it, right? We're lacking wisdom. We're dense with knowledge. Yeah. Right. You know, and the beautiful thing is people are aspiring to want to help one another and suggesting different things, but but here's the interesting thing is that we make an assumption. For me to come up to you and say you need to do you need to do psychedelics, I'm making the assumption that you're not already where you want to be in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ignorant.
Yeah, it's interesting because...
It's ignorant, but it's also enchanting because they're just trying to help.
Right. Yeah, but it's also competitive in a way.
Of course it's competitive. That's our nature here. I mean, everything's a competition.
Like, I'm going for my workout. I'm doing my meditation in the corner. I go in the quiet room in the corner. I just sit there. Some people see me, some of the trainers break my chops because they see me doing it a lot. Like this to me.
Again, that's the way that they insulate their reality, because anything that fractures it, right? Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, what they're doing is you're not supposed to do that here or something like that. Nobody does that. You're the only one or something.
I know, right?
I don't know what it is. But people come up to me, hey, what are you doing? And I'm just praying and meditating. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they ask me, and it's interesting because when the ego will pop up and say something like, tell them all about it.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, no, I'll just wait for them to ask me something meaningful. What is it that you're doing? Oh, you look like you've lost some weight. What is it that you're doing? Oh, I started showing up for myself.
Exactly, right? And it's interesting. It's because even I have people ask me, what is it that I have to do this? And I look at them, start with this thing. And they look at me, that's it? Yeah.
Oh, I don't give any advice.
Yeah. No. But I mean, anything that you're in process on, you are coming from an access point that you can share it with the world. So somebody comes up to you, what is it that you're doing there? Well, I've learned how to meditate because, I just wanted to be more balanced or whatever it is. Oh, what is it that you actually do? Well, you know what? Maybe try getting up in the morning, going for a walk for the next 30 days before you start your day. And be with yourself there. You know what I mean? Like you're fully within your range to make suggestions.
I've only said two things.
Yeah.
right? I said to people, I started showing up for myself every day.
Yeah.
And then they would like lean back and express extreme interest in what I'm talking about. I see it on their face. Like, what are you talking about? So you show up for yourself every day. You know, put on your own oxygen mask first.
Yeah, exactly right.
And they're like, oh, they get that. And the other thing
they think they get it.
Well, no, but what it does is it strikes a chord with them.
Of course.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. And then they try. It's like
I hit a bong in the room with them.
And then they try to arrange the information in this thing so that it makmakes sense to them.
Yes. But sometimes it touches them meaningfully.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes it touches them meaningfully. And the other thing that I tell them sometimes is I actively cultivate gratitude.
Beautiful.
That's it. That's only to actively cultivate gratitude. I'm being thankful.
So for this next upcoming week, continue with your process.
Okay.
Implement the reversing and start pondering and contemplating what is it to become the vibration of gratitude. Right? So we have gratitude for all these things in our life. The next step is now becoming the actual frequency of gratitude. So for instance, I'll use love as an example. One can know themselves as a loving person, but the only way they can know themselves as a loving person is because they've experienced themselves in a loving act. So you give a card to a loved one on their birthday or whatever, or you know what I mean?
From
right?
Heart.
So yeah, and most people know themselves as loving people only on holidays or certain circumstances or this and that.
Sure.
What would be accessible to you in life if you became the vibration of love? First towards yourself, because naturally, if you're not to it, and now it begins to emanate outwardly to everyone.
Sure.
So what I have in my life is an accumulation of experiences throughout the day that are all a vibration of love, right? Because we become it. You know what I'm saying? As we exactly right. So we become gratitude. We become it because as so long as it's always something we're committing to having. I have gratitude. Right? But we become the actual vibration of it. And then we become the awareness of the vibration as it's expanding and as it's actually present. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, right? Because this is now watching the unfolding of a beautiful life from that point of which that is witnessing it.
I'm just.
I'm
getting a little bit emotional.
It throws the brain for a bit of a
when
thing.
You think about that, you can become a beautiful thing. Like gratitude is a state of being. It's not an emotion.
Exactly.
Thankfulness is the emotion or whatever that you're talking about.
Yeah. And this is the whole commitment that we embarked on and continue to do so in our own personal lives and together.
Being thankful is different than embodying gratitude.
Well, but here's the thing: to be thankful for something means that thing happened before.
But it's also exactly. Gratitude is
which is an illusion. Which is an illusion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To think I'm so thankful for that thing that happened yesterday.
You don't know the reason why the other person did it anyway.
No. So become the vibration of gratitude in every breath you take, every step you take. Become the expression of that thing in your daily life, in the relationships that you're having with others. That doesn't mean that you become a doormat.
No.
Right? It just means that you emanate that which you are being in your life. You
can't be there. You have to start with yourself.
This is the effortlessness. When you access life from a state of being,
yes,
that means that you're doing whatever your work is, and you just show up and you be you.
And the other thing too is when you're doing this is what's interesting. You recover so much quicker and in an active manner.
And you don't hemorrhage energy.
Yeah.
Right.
I just thought that's a crazy term.
Three ways.
Exactly what it is.
Three ways we lose energy. Right, is talking, moving, and fantasizing about sex or having sex, for men and women. So talking, moving, sexual expression, thinking about sex, masturbation for a lot of people in this part of the world. Yeah. Those are the three ways. Right. So if we start being conscious, and for me, I have all.
What a beautiful way to look at the world.
Yeah. So if you just slow down, and if you work this mechanism in meditation, that all of a sudden you stop having all of these weird sexual desires and things like that. Not weird, or even just listen.
No, but no. There is some weird stuff that's happening actually.
Oh,
I think I hate to say this to people, but I think pornography is weird.
Pornography is one of the worst things that's happened to the Western world.
Yeah, dude. I think it's weird.
It's an image. What do you think what do you think that when love is happening to create a child, that it's happening in the way that you see like our youth, bro? Our youth right now, man.
Big trouble.
This is
big trouble.
I see 14, 15-year-old kids. I mean, when I was 14, if I had access to a steady stream of porno, I'd never leave my room.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a good thing. The amount of mothers that are finding 12-year-old boys with, a plethora and library of pornography in that, because what that's doing, and not only that, the brain isn't formed till 18, 19 years of age.
Yeah.
There's a chemical. Anyways, that's neither here nor there, but all we can do to change these things, go within.
Yes.
That's it. So thanks for your time, brother.
Thank you, man. I could keep you here all day.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, but we'll see you next week. We could keep this going and get the switching of energy down and that. But where you're at right now, you have all the tools that you need to live the most beautiful life. You have nature, you have meditation, you have awareness, you're eating properly, you're taking care of yourself. And look at what happens.
I can't believe I've been trying to lose 10 pounds since I met you.
Yeah, I know.
Since the day I met you.
The key there is that you were trying.
Yeah.
Now you just let it happen.
Yeah.
I know, right? It's crazy. Now,
since I met you.
Could you imagine if when I was selling personal training to people, if I gave them the pitch on how they really had to lose weight? I wouldn't have had a job.
I think it might work. No, I think you said you got to show up for yourself every day. That's step one.
I know. Wait, I just to finish, a friend of mine who were creating a center up in Markham, when he first sat down in my office, and I said, wouldn't you like to, by the age of 50, you can feel better than you've ever felt before? And that is what sparked them up. And he looks at me now, he's like, fuck, if I had known what you meant, he said, I don't think I would have ever embarked on this journey, because it is the most difficult journey of your life, right? But the most rewarding. So have a great day, brother.
Thanks for listening, folks.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, man.